Hi, Tyrion. How are you, mate?
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to be back, or back. Good to be here again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty good Friday, I must say. I've
Yeah.
been taking some time for myself, just you know, relaxing, trying to chill down because it's been a very busy period, both privately and work-wise. How about
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. Obviously, same. Very busy. Very busy. But yeah, good. All exciting things going on.
Yep. Hey, Vida, Alice. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, doing good. Doing good. It's nice to have a bit of time for myself. So yeah, I'm taking it like that today. It's nice having being able to really enjoy the quiet.
Yeah, definitely needed sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to do it, else you go crazy.
Yeah, for sure. We're picking up the dog tomorrow, so
Yeah, interesting times. I was gonna mention that.
calm in our house. Well, I say calm with the two
Mhm.
kids. It's never calm anyway, to be fair. But it'll be even more chaotic as of tomorrow.
So have you got it all prepared as well? Like a place for the doggy to stay in, like a leash, things like that,
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, I got everything. I set it up yesterday, and the kids were in. Like, we've got like a crate. We're gonna do crate training for him while he's just while he's a puppy. And the
Mhm.
kids were like locking themselves in this crate, and then they were running around with like his toys in their mouth, pretending to be dogs. And
That's
obviously, once we
hilarious.
get there, that's gonna have to stop because it won't be that hygienic.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, all exciting. But looks
Yeah.
like we get quite a few people in now, so I'll hand over to Danny to
Hot seat.
introduce, get started in the hot seat as you will.
Take the pressure job. Yes. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here as well, Syrian, because I think it's good when there's a few of us up on stage and sort of like clarification questions can kind of come from the group here, which rather than batting sort of just backwards and forwards. Obviously, questions in the AMA questions channel. We will put out some infographics, sort of explaining. I suppose. Let's say. Look, with everything that you do, whenever you create a change, there's a I suppose a perceived problem, if you like, or an improvement area, let's call it, and you see a solution, and then there's an action plan of what you're going to do around it. So we'll share an infographic which just sets out sort of what's driving the decisions and what we're going to do about it. So what do we see as like an area of improvement, what we're doing about it, and how it's going to happen, and what the output of that will be. What there's no point in doing these things unless it's going to take us to a better place. We just had the committee as well, and I just want to share that I think we me personally, and also Alice, and even the team that all get together on a weekly basis, we like. I've never actually worked in a team where there's been so few politics or personal agendas, like ever in my life, actually in my whole career, and that's and I think the reason behind that is because when everybody comes together, we're all focused on the same thing. We're always like, okay, well, what we want is success for the protocol. We want sustainability. We want to burn that supply down, and we want to grow the fund. Yeah, and even there's loads of different examples of that I could share across all of the team on a weekly basis when we get together, and even when we've got really difficult situations, we've got a difficult gravity. Sometimes we can make a decision as a team. It's difficult to communicate. It can be late at night. Sometimes you look back and you think, well, maybe we could have done it differently. But there's never any politics. There's never any politics because actually, even when we look back on something, we say, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that, or maybe we could have done this differently. And because people are focused on the same goal, we don't have those politics. And I think as a group and as a community, when the times are super good and it looks like the chart can only go one way, then naturally, like, everybody's on board and it's great and everyone feels fantastic. And as soon as things start to maybe not feel like they're going exactly the way people want, then and obviously it gets a little bit more challenging. And I think, like, for us to, together we work, any organization is stronger, whether it's, us as a community and investors and as a team. And if people start working their own individual agendas, which is fine as well, right? We're all individual people. Then that obviously makes it slightly weaker. And I think the only thing that you can do is just like continue to have like really objective and constructive dialogue and challenge each other without emotion. And there's a leadership video, which there's it's a culture video. There's I'm a real fan of, and it talks about, like, if you want to solve problems in the workplace, you don't do it at the water cooler, you don't do it in the car park bitching about things. You do it like round the table in front of people, and if you do it without emotion and you're focused on the same goals, then we should be very comfortable. I think it's about healthy conflict. Basically, we should be comfortable challenging each other. So what we're going to share today, we've got the right goal in mind, and people will have different views and the best way to get to that goal, and people are free to challenge it, and please do. I would always encourage that we sort of like challenge the environment openly. So that's sort of my. Somebody with a hand up. We're not taking questions on the stage at the moment, so it's crypto with Malcolm, but we can come back to you. I don't know if you guys just, that's kind of like my starting monologue and kind of how I'm thinking and feeling at the moment before we sort of go through the restructure and the changes and the reasons why. And just guys on the stage, I don't know if you've got any thoughts, feelings, or on those comments.
I actually couldn't agree more with you, Danny, on that point, with the politics being close to zero. And yeah, it's just a very nice, but, trustworthy team, small as well. So yeah, it's great to work with you guys.
I just want to echo that sentiment, really. I think it's absolutely bang on. Really, really well said, mate.
Yes, and hey, Apex, good to see you.
Cool. Alice, you got any thoughts?
No, obviously just agree with you. And I think, yeah, please do. Like, if you've got, like, this is obviously for the community, not to Danny and the team, but if you've got any questions or anything you think that we're doing wrong, or you don't agree with something, or you think it could be done better, unless you share that with us, we don't know that, right? And we're always really open to constructive conversation. We're always really, open to hearing your feedback. That's why we set up the committee. That's why we're in the chat all the time, talking to everybody. We're human at the end of the day, and everything we do in the best interest of MDB overall. And we thoroughly think things through, and we don't do anything, lightly. That doesn't mean that we're going to get everything 100% right 100% of the time. So if you think something is wrong, or you don't agree for whatever reason, then you need to tell us. And that doesn't mean we'll necessarily act on it or change things, but we will always take that feedback on board, and if necessary to change something because it's something we missed or something actually we think is a really good point, then we'll always do that. So yeah, don't be afraid to speak to us, to just be open, and that goes with this AMA, right? So obviously Danny's going to run through loads of information. Use the question box to challenge that if there's something you're not sure on. Yeah, we're not a team that says you can't ask us questions, you can't challenge us. You absolutely can, and we've always said that from the beginning. So
yeah, cool, very good. All right, well, let's I'll start getting into the meat of it then. So was it just before I do that, was there any comments, questions, or anything just on those points within AMA questions?
I'm looking at it right now. I don't see any questions yet.
Oh. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, let's get into the meat of it then. So, in terms of like the driving forces behind this restructure, it always comes back to our goals that never change, right? So my goals and our goals as a team, and I'm sure like everybody is a community as well, right? Everybody has their own individual sort of like goals at heart as well, but everybody, most people care, about the organisation and the protocol. And all of us have put a lot into it, whether you're an investor or whether you're a team member, to get us where we are and to continue being successful. So the goals are, we always want to provide better growth prospects for MDB. And growth prospect means, security of where you are. It means support of your position, and also, the higher the support of your position and where you are, then obviously the greater your potential looking upwards as well. So at the same time, we always want to be trying to find ways to burn as much supply as possible, and we want to maintain like as high yields as we possibly can across the whole protocol, whether it's farming, staking, and also within any of the assets within the protocol actually, and also obviously within stable backed assets. So everything that we're doing and we're sharing is focused on those goals. So I think in terms of how we provide better growth prospects for MDB, part of this restructure, our goal is that within 5 days, that's our timeline for the restructure to be complete, so it's going to move pretty quick from this point, is that we will move our funds to market cap ratio, which is currently about 25%. So if you say about 2 million in funds, not including liquidity in funds, because liquidity is something that's obviously heavily influenced by other people's decisions, whereas the fund is influenced, almost primarily by our own decisions. So when I talk about funds, it's about 25% of the market cap, which is 8 million at the moment. The plan is that but by the end of this process, in 5-6 days, where we will be is plus 40% backing of our market cap in terms of funds, not including liquidity. The current liquidity levels, actually, it puts in a position where our backing is actually 50% plus, even at the level we're at now, where our price is 4 times our pre-sale price in the bear market. We'll be in a position where our backing is very, very high, which obviously means, if things were difficult in the market and, we had a lot of sell-offs, then our backing would just grow like really, really quickly as a percentage. So that's the output that we're looking for. What also helps with that process is burning as much supply as possible. The more funds that you can have as a ratio of the market cap, the better yield to market cap ratio, therefore more tokens that you can burn from supply. And anyone who's new to our system, it's a system where you're trying to push up one and the other one down, and then you get a multiplication of the two things. So that's why we're in a position where our market cap is only like 2.5 times what we started, 2.6, 2.7 times what we started with, but actually our price is 4 times what the pre-sale was, and well over, it's about 3.5 times what it was at launch. So that's and the reason that's possible, like your market cap's come down, but the price is actually the price growth is far greater than the growth of the market cap, is because of that supply burn, which we're absolutely dedicated to. So change that we're making is all about burning more supply, and the output in terms of measurable target from the changes that we're going to make. We are certain from what we're going to do that our supply is going to come down quite drastically in the coming weeks, and we will get our supply down well under 800 million tokens within the next 40 days actually. So we don't want to burn too much too quickly almost. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but at the same time, I think it'll be a great time for PFC holders, because they'll have a lot of MDB released to them as a part of this process of burning off a lot of our supply. But at the same time, if we do it all in one go, then it's gonna almost push too much out in one lump. So we'll be doing it so it falls into 2 windows. So it'll be over the next 40 days. Our other goals, maintaining the highest yields possible. The 2 things that I've already described obviously have a big impact. If there's less supply in existence, then therefore the rewards are divided by less supply. If there's less supply, there can't be more supply than there was previously being locked up in the yield position. So therefore, you're concentrating more value into a smaller space, and we want to maintain. We're very proud of the yields that we've delivered, whilst also delivering asset growth. Very few protocols deliver asset value growth in this market, whilst also delivering really strong yields, and that's what we've been able to achieve for 5 months actually with Xenia, and we want to continue to do that. So there's a few things that we'll do to achieve that, and I'm just going to run through those now. Okay. So first and foremost, we already sort of announced the pause of trading of Infinity. Now we will be rolling Infinity back into MDB. I'll be honest, it's a very difficult thing to do on a personal level because the theory is absolutely right. It works perfectly fine. The market was improving. The sentiment has been improving. We get lots of sort of like feedback from institutional investors and VCs, and everything was looking really positive. And FTX really just put a massive pin in the market. And is FTX today, and it could be another one and another one. But it really did look like there was a window where, all of the institutional money was thinking that Q1 is going to be a much better time in crypto, and typically they try and move before that. So you would definitely get some momentum within the market, and that's now gone. So on a personal level, it's very difficult to make the decision. The easy thing to do would just be to let things play out. But the choice that we've made is to pause trading on Infinity and roll Infinity back into MDB. So what does that mean for holders, and how are we going to execute that? I suppose is sort of like the key point. So there's been lots of talk around sort of the price and how that sort of compensation will happen and how we'll achieve that as a protocol. Let me explain. So if you looked at the price of Infinity when trading was paused, it was 0.17-ish. And then if you looked at, say, the liability, if you awarded MDB at that value, then you'd be talking around 880,000. If you looked at all of the tokens that are in sort of holders' hands, not sort of out circulating supply LP and things like that. So the funds within Infinity at this point in time is about 1.1 million, albeit about 130,000 of that is illiquid because it's in things like EMP Reactor, which are effectively mining systems, and you don't have access to the capital once you've invested in it. And we also have the consideration of the NFTs there as well. So taking feedback, been going around talking to lots of people, also obviously had the committee today, lots of input and feedback. I do appreciate there's a really strong sentiment around, whilst it's not great for some people that would have bought in higher, a lot of people made money on Infinity, by the way. We had 800 pre-salers. There's only really 200 holders of note. That means 600 people sold out, right? So, whilst it doesn't help someone who is down on Infinity, that there is 3 times the amount of people that probably sold for a profit or have made money through the process than there is people that could be at risk of being down. But I appreciate the sentiment on that launch price and why it's such an emotive topic. So what we are going to do is we're going to reward MDB at the launch price of 0.2, which gives us an exposure in MDB of just over $1 million. But we're also going to have to obviously, and we want to honour the NFTs and ensure that they continue receiving MDB rewards at similar levels as they were previously as well. So the protocol is absorbing that liability as well as the assets in terms of the rewards for the NFTs, and we will drop an Infinity strike price of 0.2 over the coming 5 days. So operationally, how we're going to do that is there is what we don't want to do is kind of waste any of our supply in wallets that they shouldn't be in, or dead wallets or forgotten wallets. There's wallets, for instance, from bots and things that we blacklisted at launch, and we just don't want to make any mistakes and kind of waste any protocol tokens. So we will open up a claim system, and then we'll systematically work through the claims. So we're not going to have like an open claim process and then everyone gets it at the end. Put your wallet in there, and then we're just going to systematically over the next 5 days collect the wallets, drop MDB. So we'll be calling a strike price that's going to be quite dynamic as we move through the process. And we're also taking measures as a protocol to ensure that we can support post drop as well. So we need to acquire MDB, number one. So that's how we're doing it financially, and we've already started that process. as a team, we're going to loan. I say loan, it sounds very formal, but actually it's extremely informal, and the risk is really on us rather than the protocol. And we're happy to take that risk to make this change happen and to deliver on those metrics that we're committed to achieving of getting the funds up over 40% of the market cap. So we're going to loan all of our supply back to the protocol. And we'll be as flexible as we need to on that. And obviously, if we were in the business of putting ourselves before the protocol, then we wouldn't even have the supply to give right at this point in time. But we've never sold a single token, and we're going to offer up that supply, and that means that if things were very difficult, say in 9 months' time, then the protocol will be able to use yield to buy back that supply. And if things were very optimistic, if we were like times 10 in a year's time, then we'll just find a way to settle it and make good without it impacting the protocol. The dream is that we are able to settle everything up using yield from the capital whilst protecting the principal and continuing the burn of the supply and the protocol at the pace that we have, and everyone is whole at the end of it, and obviously the financials of the protocol are extremely robust at that point. So a lot of information there around Infinity and what we're doing. So maybe a good time to maybe get some questions.
There is one from Absol that literally just came in. I'll read it out. Could you elaborate on the dynamic strike price for MDB? How is that going to be determined, and why is it dynamic instead of fixed?
That's a really good question. The reason it's dynamic is because you're trying to deliver something over a number of days, and every drop is individual, right? So it's not a fixed situation unless we pause the whole protocol for 5 days and go through this process. It's not a fixed situation. We do have to acquire a lot of MDB to make this possible. We also need to make sure we've got provisions to support any sell-offs afterwards as well, and it's a very fine line. So I think you have to call it at a very local point to that particular drop, and we need to talk about it more as a team. I think again maybe this is a point that I'm open to. My view is that maybe people wouldn't want to wait and then all get dropped at the very end. But at the same time, you can't call a strike price and then acquire all the supply, and then your strike price would leave you in a deficit, and you would just have to go and buy a load more. You'd be in this never-ending loop, right?
True.
And so that you have to be. When I say dynamic, I probably mean we have to be pragmatic and fair, and work through the process in that way. Yeah. So I'm sorry if that didn't give like absolute specifics. I know MSOL, you're like a professional trained accountant, so you're like, well, just give me the number. But as we work through the process, you're talking about something that's going to be moving every minute of every day. So we just try and make it as accurate as possible at the point we do the drop.
Cool. That sounds like a very good explanation to me. Then there's one which I probably can answer myself. Will there be taxes applied to the MDB we're receiving for Infinity? That's going to be a no. Yeah, cool. Let's see, is there more? I don't think so. For now, hang on, there's one from Robin Hoods. Fair and decent move, in brackets as always, to consider launch price of Infinity, but how will you fix the MDB price when distributing?
You can't. It's you can't. It's impossible to. It's a bit like when you go and change your money at the when they give you a price when you change your money to go on holiday, and that's the price at that point in time. But in truth, in the time you're putting it in your pocket and walking out the door, the exchange rate could change by 0.5%, right? So that's kind of the process that we have to go through. It's a live market whilst we're doing the exchange.
Mm-hmm. Then this one, that's pretty interesting. How will we decide which wallets are paid first?
Good question. I And I think you know, and again, you know, open to feedback and input, and let's have some sort of like open dialogue. But you know, if you know, we'll open up the wallet collect, and the people that are in first, you know, will be most likely to get their tokens first.
All right, so it's probably going to be like a first come first serve scenario.
Yeah, that's logical.
Mm-hmm. And there was one more. Let me double check. Should be unstake infinity beforehand. I don't think we can, right?
You don't can or need to.
Yeah,
We'll
exactly.
handle all
Yeah.
of that. You just have to give your wallet. That's it, and we can work everything else out.
Cool. For now, yeah, that are all the questions that I could see so far.
Cool. Okay. So I'll move on to a couple of other things that we're doing as part of this restructure to make it work. So one of them is a little bit complex. So I'll come to that second. The first one, so we, you know, I'm working hard with Adam at the moment. We're doing a lot of analysis, and we need to you know, one of the things with both with Infinity and when volume's very low, it gets exacerbated. We've got, you know, our spread across the protocol was quite thin, and also at the same time, a huge amount of the TVL of both our stable backed assets held up by the protocol. And you know, it's a very safe and easy place to go, but we need to, you know, we're expanding sort of our strategy, and we're working on that in the background at the moment. But you know, one of the things that we need to do is kind of free up some of that APY. At the moment, MDB Plus, 50% of the TVL of MDB Plus is owned by the protocol. Now, in basic terms, if you look, the last 7-day APY is around 7.9%. If we're able to deliver the same yield with a similar level of security and reduce our reliance on the MDB Plus sort of ROI, then we would actually double the APY for investors and the protocol, which, you know, means the token's even more attractive. I can see Ted's here. You know, Ted's using MDB Plus. His protocol wants to see MDB Plus, you know, growing at the highest amount. And the more we lean on those assets ourselves, the more sort of like we're squeezing the life out of them to a certain degree. That, you know, you can't kill it because it can only go up. But at the same time, you know, it becomes less attractive the more of that sort of like life that you're squeezing out of it. So we will be quite aggressively moving a lot of our cash off of the stable backed assets, which will then drive up the APY, make it look more attractive. And our move with Infinity also helps us to do this in terms of Phoenix Plus. We are also then exploring more interesting ways of adding utility to the stable backed assets. So it's very early days at the moment, but we're in discussions with an organization who that, you know, we know very well, and they have actually developed a concept for being able to leverage a lending type model where you're able to take the BUSD out of the stable backed asset, but there's a smart contract control around that BUSD, so you could deposit that BUSD, say, in a farm like Cake, and then effectively that Cake farm is then collateral for the BUSD. Now, obviously, if you know, if Pancake Swap goes down, then I think we're all in trouble. But if Cake then, you know, fell apart, then you know, you've got this loop really where the person who is leveraged BUSD will then also lose, you know, collateral, which is the MDB Plus or Phoenix Plus. So we're exploring a system like that, where in effect, you know, someone who deposits in, because it's basically wrapped BUSD in either with the smart contracts, would be able to then basically double, well, I say double the APY, not sure on the percentages, but they would be able to use the BUSD within the contract to achieve APY in other places within DeFi that are carefully selected and seen as very safe, albeit it's still the investor's choice to put it there. And it's obviously their own collateral, i.e. the MDB Plus of theirs that they own, that they're putting at risk when they do that. So if we can make that work, and we're working with those guys at the moment, then, you know, for instance, if you can get 6% for BUSD on Cake, and you get in 15% for the BUSD in MDB Plus, then in truth you get 21% because you're able to combine the two. The way that helps the protocol is that you the protocol takes a very small tax of that BUSD being used somewhere else to earn that yield, which also then just contributes to the APY of the token. So that's a bit of alpha in terms of one of the things that we're working on to be a bit more creative in terms of it's quite unique. I haven't seen it anywhere else sort of in the market. It's not our IP or invention, but it's something that they haven't been able to, or probably don't really have the enthusiasm to take it to market, and maybe we're a better place to do that. So yeah, more news to come on that very soon.
Cool.
Any questions on that?
Maybe a few, considering Infinity. Lord Chiogarath asks, is it going to work like a Gravity Collect?
I suppose it's a wallet collect, yeah. So I suppose in
Yeah.
a similar way as we do a Gravity, we'll be collecting wallets from people, yeah.
Which
we'd rather not do, to be honest. I'd rather not do it because, you know, they're all, like I say, we started off with 800 investors in Infinity. If any one of material value, there's probably 200 holders of Infinity. But at the same time, you know, I'm conscious that there's, you know, there could be 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in wallets that we don't want to drop to. And
yeah, true.
Yeah, so if 200 people can take the time to put their wallet in a wallet collect, and it means that we can save the protocol $50,000, then I think that's probably a good venture.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Then El Marble asked a good question about how will rewards be calculated for the Infinity Yacht Club NFTs? Yeah,
it's a good question. I think so. Our goal is to aim for rewards. To try and maintain rewards at the level that they were previously. So there's some math in the background that we need to do, and also, you know, the protocol we'll be implementing some strategies with the new bond that is going to be coming, believe it or not, although it's very delayed, where the protocol has to use some clever maths and try and pick value points to acquire supply to cover its exposure, and we'll try and leverage that system as well to make sure the protocol acquires supply and then rewards it out at similar levels of what it's been, which is about, I think it's been about 4% a month ish, and our goal is to maintain sort of that level of around 4 to 5% per month.
All right. There are a couple of other questions. The one from I See Dead People is like twofold. I'm not sure if we have time for questions like that. I could go ahead and read it out, and you can see if you can answer it. Or my expectation is that Infinity Funds will merge with MDB Trust Fund as well. Right. Then, number one, what is the current backing percentage of Infinity Funds to the Infinity liquidity pool? The second one, how do you plan to balance the sell pressure of having an influx of MDB in holder wallets in place of Infinity, which we will then retire? E.g., will it be aggressive or more conservative in buybacks?
Yeah, well, yeah, we've got provision. So part of our plan is to have provision for that outcome. Yeah, so we've definitely considered that. We don't want to be like completely specific in terms of like the mix and where the funds are coming from, because we don't want to give obviously absolute details away, because you know, we want to be able to protect the protocol and hold the protocol as much as possible. The backing value, it depends whether you include illiquid or not, and I suppose the backing value is slightly skewed because the LP of Infinity is around 50k if you take the native out, and the Infinity Fund's around 1.1 million, albeit about 150. That's illiquid, as I mentioned before. But that doesn't include the liability for the NFTs, which is around 300k in itself as well.
Yeah, true. All right, then I have one more from KN636. He didn't understand the part where BUSD from MDB Plus, where the leverage came from. If you could explain that one more time.
Yeah, and look, it's I'm not an expert in it yet because it's a very complex system. But you imagine, in very simple terms, you would be able to I buy MDB plus, right? I buy $100 of MDB plus. I can then effectively, using a smart contract, then put up my MDB plus as collateral to take BUSD out of the contract. The BUSD doesn't actually come like out of the contract into my wallet. The BUSD can go from that contract into the farming or depositor contract, let's call it. And then you can use that BUSD to invest in a number of farms. So, for instance, we don't have to engage with these other parties to make this possible. We can engage with, we could add a cake farm, Beefy, Ape Swap, whoever you want, right? So you've then got some freedom of choice in sort of like some tier one sort of farm liquidity farm providers, and you could then farm that BUSD through the smart contracts. The BUSD still isn't in your wallet. You're then using that BUSD to earn. However, if your choice goes bad, you could have left the BUSD in the contract. You don't have to do it. And if, like I say, if you choose ApeSwap, because ApeSwap have got a promotion, they're offering 8% on BUSD, and then ApeSwap goes bust, and therefore you're not able to cover your liability, i.e. returning the BUSD to the contract, then you lose your collateral, which was the MDB plus. Make sense?
Yep.
That makes sense, well, KN. I know he's a super smart guy, so please be kind to me if how I've described it doesn't make sense.
I was able to follow it somehow. Very complex and interesting. Thank you, is his reply. And I would not recommend looking at the AMA questions right now because there's some horrible feed that I'm going to delete.
There's some horrible what?
There was some horrible feed posted by Dumpe. Yuck. But they're gone.
All serious stuff.
Yeah, that was all.
But there's another one. So this, and this is slightly complex, and this is something that we've been working towards for a long period of time. Actually, this isn't like a knee-jerk move, and I'll kind of explain the story. So anyone who's been here right from the start kind of understands the way this works. The way our protocol is designed is that you have a starting point, and then your two factors are that you several factors really, but you grow the fund. If you grow, your LP grows. But your LP growing means that the LP becomes a skinnier percentage of the market cap because that's how LPs work, right? So it grows the price exponentially. But the idea is that let me give you some basic numbers. We started off with 3 million market cap the day we launched, and we had 10% in the LP. Now, if your market cap doubles to 6 million, this isn't exactly right, but for example, your actual LP isn't times 2. Your actual LP is like maybe is maybe plus 50% ish. That's not absolutely right because of the way LPs work, but give or take, so now your LP is actually maybe 450 of 6 million, and 450 of 6 million is 7.5%. Now, because your LP is a skinnier percentage, i.e. it was 10% before, now it's 7.5%, it means that your fund, which is also growing, and you've got yield from a growing fund, is able to support a higher price and provide more price security within the protocol, and that's the way it's designed. Now, that works in like a really predictable, reliable way. As long as you get the funds to go up, then those that works in it. Like I say, it's completely reliable. It's a system that it's just a mathematical certainty. As long as you get your funds to go up, that's how the process will work. Now we released the farm. Now, when you release a farm, you're then freeing up the world to add to your liquidity. So you've now got this external factor. And in truth, not only do we release a farm and people are adding to it, the protocol is then incentivizing people to add their liquidity into the farm, and then it just means that these percentages now are much less certain that I just described, and so we would have expected at 8 million market cap in our original model, the way the protocol was designed, our LP percentage would be about 5%. Now we're in a position at the moment. We started off 1.5 million fund. If we look today before this restructure, our funds are about 2.3 million. So actually, we're the fund is plus 50%, but actually you've got this skinnier LP that you can manage. Now, because you've got this variable, which you can't control, because you don't know how much or how little you're going to get put in the farm, it started to skew those percentages. Now, we ended up in this position, it became clear there's a real no man's land, actually, of the two. And in fact, in our protocol, the liquidity then becoming too deep really breaks the relationship that I just described of the trust fund and the yield being able to reliably influence the LP. The LP obviously dictating the price, less burn. So long story short, we've ended up in this situation where we lost, that reliability in terms of those ratios when we had the farm, and it was a concern, but maybe it was a little bit of a surprise. But we're all on a learning curve, and so we had a choice to make. I think for us as a protocol, we either just kind of meandered in this no man's land, or we would have to close the farm, or double down on the farm and find a way of it being even more healthy for the protocol. And so we had a choice to make, and so we obviously went with the latter, because you've seen us release more farms. We've got auto commanding farms. It's like burning systematically, which is absolutely brilliant, and it's had a huge impact. But our liquidity is now like 12%. So whereas at this point in the market cap, in terms of our playbook, we'd expect to be around 5-6% LP percentage over market cap, we're now at like well over 12%. So it's like very, very high. And actually that's counterproductive to the way the protocol is designed and the way it works. It means that we've actually got less price support whilst you get more support from the LP. Anyway, long story short, so we've intentionally incentivized liquidity and gone through this change over the last 6 weeks. So rather than kill the farm, let's double down on the farm. And so now what that releases us to do, so at the moment we have close to $400,000 worth of protocol owned liquidity. That doesn't include native, that's just purely on the MDB plus and BNB side. Now what we're going to do, because we've been able to incentivize the liquidity number like up, and our percentages are even higher now than we really want them to be, that enables us now to release the protocol, or most of it. When I won't take all of it out, we'll release most of the protocol owned liquidity. We'll then be able to put that into the fund. We can then use the yield from that to then burn even more supply. So we'll shift that percentage. It will come down to around 8%, which is still higher than what we would have planned at this point by quite a stretch. And if investors want to remove their liquidity from the farm and we see that percentage getting too low, then we'll just put liquidity back in. It'll be very dynamic. But if we continue to incentivize people to farm and the rewards are amazing, it'll be hard pushed to find anything better in the industry at the moment, and certainly is sustainable. And so as long as we continue on this path, it releases more capital, more yield, the percentage comes down, and actually that contributes to our ability to burn in two ways. So one is because, again, we talked about that percentage, that's just shifted. So our trust fund jumps up another level, another double-digit jump. That means we've got even greater yield, and it's got an even greater bearing over the LP. And the almost 30 million MDB tokens that sit within the protocol owned liquidity, most of that is what we're going to burn very aggressively over the next 40 days, plus other burns that are going on as well. So we won't do it in place of, we're going to do it in addition. And as part of our plan, that means that our, the percentages that I've already described over the next week or so are just going to get even more extreme in favor of the protocol being able to do what it needs to do. Our yield will increase, our bearing over the price increases, which means our security increases, and we're going to burn a shit ton of supply over the next few days.
Yeah, that's a lot of information. I haven't been able to catch that all because I'm also at the questions.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's a lot of information
Yeah,
there, and like
exactly.
I said, we put out an infographic explaining it. There's no risk to the protocol because we're not, basically we're just dynamically using the capital within the protocol to increase our backing, increase our price support, and burn more tokens than we are at the moment. We still have the funds there as insurance, and it doesn't. Because we've almost over-indexed in terms of how deep our liquidity is, it means that we have the freedom to do it now, and that was always part of the strategy over the last couple of months.
Cool. Gilverino or Gilverino, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, has a question too. So it's still pertaining to the Infinity part. Like, does this mean MDB strike price could potentially be a lot higher than when Infinity paused trading, in brackets 0.0089 then? So essentially, the holders are forced to take the risk of MDB dipping post-drop, making the value less short-term.
There is risk there, obviously, but if you combine all of the changes that we're making, we're providing even more security for the protocol. And in truth, we don't have the MDB at that price. And I think there's very few people that own a lot of Infinity that don't own a lot of MDB. So in truth, that price movement is also having a very positive impact, and all of the changes we're making is having a very positive impact on the MDB you already own. And then it's, the responsibility is on us to call a strike price that's fair. And dare I say, I don't want to sort of like put myself in a position where I might get lynched, but the goal will be to have a buffer in that and a level of security to it. So obviously we're thinking about those things, but you can't say, well, the price of MDB when we stopped trading was 0.89, because like I say, you go back to the, if you walk in and buy $3 billion of US dollars, well, your purchase alone is moving the price, right, on the market.
Yeah, so, exactly.
You can't. You can't deny the fact that the transaction is impacting the value, but we're also sensitive of the potential downside risks, Virgin. So yeah.
Cool. A thank you from Ted, by the way. He had to drop off, but he was very impressed with all the information that he got. So that's a good thing. For now, I don't think I see any more questions. At least no. What is this one? Let me check. Yeah, no. There's no questions at the moment.
Yeah. Look, I think the summary is that the changes that we're making in terms of a net investment in MDB will provide for more secure yields, an even stronger base and support level for your assets in the ecosystem. That's just generalized rather than sort of like talking about one token or the other, and provide like that floor is even increased even more actually by the significant burn that we're going to be doing over the near future. And there will also be obviously the upside potential. If you change the ratios in the way that we're changing them, then the upside potential naturally has also increased by quite a step change as well.
Cool. Then I have AMSOL for you again.
Yeah.
Is there a world in which the protocol accumulates the necessary MDB for the drop along with the wallet collection, and everyone is giving the same MDB strike price? Gamification of the conversation is a little frustrating. Or the conversion, sorry, not conversation.
Yeah, we could do.
It sounds like a good
plan. I think I said before, like we've got very sort of like open team and community, and we should sort of like we should say, I think this is it, and if you disagree or agree, we should challenge each other, and life and society is about trying to create a consensus on things and do the right thing, and consensus doesn't mean that everybody agrees, but it means that collectively as human beings we get to what we think is the best outcome for people in general.
Yeah, I think AMSOL makes a good point there. Okay, and I have one more question from Al Marble. For MDB Plus, does borrowing against BUSD change the fundamental concept of MDB Plus? being
Yeah.
100% backed by BUSD, if there's some risk involved in the borrowing.
Well, interestingly, so I suppose the term 100% backed by BUSD is talking isn't it? It talks about the supply of MDB plus, but in truth, on an individual level, Syrian doesn't care about Danny's MDB plus, and Danny doesn't care about Syrian's MDB plus, right? Syrian cares about his MDB plus. So in this system, you're still 100% backed by BUSD unless you choose to take some risk with that BUSD, and then you're using your own MDB plus effectively as collateral for the BUSD. So if that decision, rather than if you take, and we have toyed with the idea and talked about if you'd taken, for instance, the BUSD out of the contract in a very crude way, and maybe put it on USD plus, or you put it on another stable asset. As a protocol and as a smart contract, you're making that decision for everybody, and then it's back on us. Whereas in this system, it's you as an individual. If Syrian doesn't want that risk, no matter how small it is, then he won't have it. Somebody else leveraging the value of their MDB plus will have zero impact on Syrian.
True. Yeah. That's clear. For now, that's it.
Good. I appreciate it's been like a lot of detail, and Alice and Apex have been very, very quiet. So we need to put out some simple sort of like infographics and detail of this is the thing that we're trying to improve. These are the reasons why. This is what we're doing. This is a result. So it'd be very sort of simple. But I appreciate it's been a lot for people to take in. And I hope, look, we're all here, and certainly people who've been here since the very start have done very well out of MDB by getting behind the team, supporting the team, and we like Alice said, we're not going to get everything right. We're human beings, right? But our intentions are completely true and never change. So if you we appreciate people's support and standing behind that, and but we also have to be ready for people not to stand behind that and protect the future prospects of the people that are invested in the protocol long term.
The white paper, would it be updated too? I guess so, right?
Question for Alice.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Yeah, absolutely. Everything would be updated. I would say within sort of 48 hours or so, just to make sure we've got everything together, everything's clear, and then we'll put out everything in the white paper. Like Danny said, some infographics just to make everything super clear. And the academy and everything will obviously be updated to reflect any changes as well. So it's easy for people to find.
Cool. Nice. Then that's been answered. How to handle funds remaining from wallet collects that missed the deadline? Yeah, that's one that we get all the time with with Gravity collects. So that is actually a good question.
Yeah, look, this isn't a Gravity, because a Gravity is the end of an organization, right? And this is sort of a restructure. We obviously privately we draw the same parallels, right? And but the fundamental difference is that this is a restructure of our protocol for for our own prosperity and security long term, and so it means we're not going anywhere. The challenge we have with Gravity, we've done 10 of them. We can't, we can't indefinitely manage a desk for someone turning up at some point. Although I think we've come up with a clever system going forward to at least provide some sort of like longevity for people. So so that there's two options, but we can go into that another time. But the point is that we're not. It's a very different situation, because this isn't the end of an organization, right? This is just us
restructure. Yeah, correct. All right, then. No more questions for as far as I can see.
Cool. Maybe a little bit of an update on, because it's very technical and quite serious, bit of an update on some of the things that are happening over the next few days. So we've got AJ in a few hours. with an AMA, which is I think is great. Actually, I've done loads of AMAs over in EMP, so I'm really looking forward to. I think AJ's done a mega AMA here. It's been a while, if at all, whether he's done sort of a full dedicated AMA on EMP. So really excited by that. We got an AMA with a new YouTuber on Sunday who's an up and coming YouTuber, and gives us a different medium, different style, which is really cool. We've got AMA on Monday, and then I don't know if on Tuesday, Alice, you just want to share sort of the plan that we've got for the celebration that we're doing on Tuesday.
Yeah, so it's just going to be a bit of fun, really. Loads of prizes. We have actually pushed the time back 2 hours, in case you haven't seen. So it was going to be at 2 p.m. UTC. Now it's 4 p.m. UTC. There's just going to be loads of different games. We're going to do a bit of a spin the wheel to win different prizes. All paid in MDB, of course, and then probably a bit of a pub quiz style thing as well. It's just to celebrate, basically. It's 5 months to the day on Tuesday, where it's been over 100% APY on the farm. So just a little bit of a celebration for that, really. We like to celebrate and have little events where we can. So yeah, just took the opportunity. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to make it. Loads of chances for prizes, like I say. Don't know what the total prize amount will be, but it probably quite easily tot up into a significant amount. So yeah, be sure to join us, and you can win numerous times as well, by the way. So you can keep winning. It's not like if you win one game, you're then excluded from the others either. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
So I'm going to get to do a numbers game again.
Yeah, we're going to do a guess the number. We're going to do best in show. So what my thoughts are for best in show, I'll put some more information out over the weekend, but I'm thinking best in show will be like a meme competition, and whoever gets the most votes wins, that sort of thing. So just a bit of fun, really. But yeah, it should be good. Should be good.
We're also going to have a special guest as well, actually, which is confirmed. So somebody that people know, and he it's a he now. He brings a lot of energy, let's say.
Is it? Yeah. Is it CZ?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah. He took some time out of his agenda, and yeah, sure. Nice. Cool. All right.
Oh, all right. Well, look, I appreciate. Look, we're bang on the hour, so I appreciate everybody taking the time and coming along. And I hope people understand sort of our rationale and reasons for making changes. And it's because we don't want to get caught sitting on our hands. I think I've learned a lot in this industry, and it feels like years that we've been doing this, and it's been a ridiculously short time, but it's an extremely fickle industry, and that fickle nature also I think gets tested in the most difficult of markets. But as a team, as a group, we're not fickle, we're not going anywhere, and we're always going to be challenging the status quo to deliver what we've set out to do.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Also you, Godfather, Mina, Apex. And we'll probably see each other in a couple of hours then.
Cool. Right. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers,
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.